Hi everyone, thanks a lot for joining me for this little tutorial here talking about the step sequencer of the MC505 a little more, and especially talking about using the step sequencer to program melodic lines and not so much for drums. The difference is with the drums you're really stuck to these four scales that are printed on the panel, which is not the case when you're on a instrument part and want to type in melodies. Then you have many more other scales available that are kind of can be considered hidden scales that cannot really be represented by these step keys anymore, because their note values are a lot faster or longer than what's used for these four scales here. And in order to do so, first of all, I want to initialize the pattern. Are you sure? Yes. So I had something programmed here before. This is like the, I don't know, probably the 6th or 7th version of this that I'm recording right now. I really hope I get everything done right this time. Okay, so first thing I want to do is find me a nice sounding patch. And I want a kind of this kalimba patch for part 1, and for part 2 I want to go for something like a pad sound. Okay, yeah, this is quite a nice sound here, the JP plus OB pad. Okay, so I want to be on part 1, and now I want to access this sequencer, and I have to press 3 times on the record button. Pressing once gets me to the screen where I can make all kinds of recording assignments. Also, here I can change the time signature, and this is important for the information that I get later on in the display when it comes to laying down notes. This could also be something like an eighth note scale. All these eighth note scales are available: 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, 9/8, 12, and then also 16th note scales. And this will have an effect on what's shown in the display, but I'm going to explain this a little better later on when I'm actually recording. Now I'm going to stick to the 4/4 scale for now, and now I have to press twice more to get to the right screen for step sequencing. A step sequencer basically works so that each time I press a note, I still have the keyboard available. I can choose the octave for a very low or higher sounding note, and then each time I press a note, the sequence steps further a little bit depending on the note value that I've selected here. In this case, 16th notes. So, but I'm going to clear out everything I have already done. Clearing the notes that you've already recorded works by holding down Shift and then pressing the backwards button. And you can see that also on the backwards button there's the word tie printed underneath, and also for forward there's rest. And you can navigate through the pattern using these two knobs here. And to get to a certain position in the pattern, you can type in rest a couple of times, and the note value also indicates the type of increments that you move forward in the pattern when pressing the rest button here. Then there's the note type in the display. Then in the next row there's a velocity value and gate time value. Velocity is basically the loudness of the note. Well, actually it's a kind of combination of volume level and I think a kind of a filter setting that opens the filter up a little more for the louder notes and closes it a bit for the lower, for the softer notes. I think that's what velocity really means. Not too sure on this. Well, doesn't matter so much. These values, they can be changed using these buttons right here underneath the faders. The velocity value is linked to these buttons, and then the gate time value is linked to the green buttons. And you're not stuck to these values. Actually, you can change them by holding down the button and then using the value dial. for anything that is like somewhere in between these pre-assigned values. Gate time, it's the same for gate time. I'm going to stick to a gate length of 100% so that each note that is shown in the display is really fully played out for exactly the right amount that the note value suggests here. It could be a lot shorter also, or even up to double the original length. So if I hold down the maximum value setting here and dial even further up, this would actually give me an 8th note, even though I have 16th selected here, because I can a note can have up to 200% of its original length. Okay, but I'm going to make this 100%, like I already said. And yeah, now what's really important, and I think this is what makes it a bit complicated, is this second display here. When I type in a 16th note, this value changes to 24. What does this actually mean? Well, 24 represents PPQs. And that means that a 16th note is 24 pulses per quarter note long. And one quarter note in a 4/4 measure on a 16-step grid is a quarter note is from step key 1 to step key 5. You would, and also from 5 to 9. So downbeats, you would count the downbeats on step keys 1, 5, 9, and 13. Whoops. Going 1, 2, 3, 4. Then that's a full measure from 1 to 4. If you have 4/4 selected. Like I said, the resolution in the MC505, if you turn quantize all the way off, you have a maximum resolution of 96 pulses per quarter note, PPQs. This means that what's represented by 4 step keys going from 1 to 5, having 16th notes, a 16th note scale here, you would have 96 keys, not only 16, but 90s. Imagine having 96 step keys available just to get from 1 to 2 when counting through the downbeats. 1, 2, 3, 4. One quarter note counting from 1 to 2 could be divided into 96 steps. That is when quantization is turned all the way off, when you're playing freely and the notes are placed wherever, whenever you press down on them in real time. With a step sequencer, this is always quantized though, and the shortest note value available in the machine is 4 PPQs. As I said, a 16th note has a value of 24 PPQs. So when laying down notes with the very shortest available note type, imagine having not only 4 notes available per quarter note, but actually 24, which is a whole bar plus 8 more, just to fill in 1 quarter note. So how does this sound? Well, we're going to try out. This is the very shortest note value assigned. You can see that these scales, there are many scales. When I have 16th notes selected, the light here indicates the last row, the last scale is, so I know that I'm using the last scale that's also printed on the panel here. Yeah, selecting a faster note than that. This is 30 seconds notes as indicated by this light here. So I could use this scale. In this case, 8 step keys could fill out 1 quarter note. So 16 steps give me only half a measure. 1, 2, then next page, 3, 4 would make one full measure. And then I also have triplet scales, in which also either with this one 12 step keys make a full measure. So then a quarter note is not divided into 4 but only 3 steps. So I would have this like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it repeats after step key 12 already. Or with this faster scale, also triplet scale, it's sort of the same as with 16th and 32nd notes. I could have 1, 2, next page, 3, 4, always on 1 and step key 7. Okay, this is how these scales work, and they are fairly easy to use because the steps that you can actually type in are represented by these step keys, which is not possible on a scale like this because there are simply not enough step keys to represent all these notes. I hope you understand what I mean. All right, so if we have 96 pulses per quarter note in a 4/4 scale, switching over to an 8th note scale would give me only would not give me quarter notes, of course, but 8th notes. And this is what's indicated by this second digit here in the very first display where it says current. This display tells me that I'm in the first measure on the first quarter note right at the start, because I don't have anything written in there yet. If I program one of these very short notes here, this will change to 4. So, and now I can press many more times, actually 24 times. I can type in all these notes until only the first quarter note is fully written. And then this display changes to the next digit, 2. Now I'm in the second quarter note, still in the first measure. If I was on a 16-step grid, this would be step key number 5 now. Now all these notes I have typed in only filled in the first quarter note. If I was on an 8th note time signature, like 5/8, then the next 8th note, this digit would have changed a lot earlier when only 48 PPQs were reached. Then this display would have changed to 1.2 already. And in a different time signature with 16th notes, reaching 24 PPQs would also change to the next digit here in this first display. Yeah, okay. So PPQs are important, and the shortest note, as I said, is only 4 PPQs long. I'm going to switch to the next longer sounding note now and type in a couple more notes, just like I did before, to fill up the second quarter note here. Okay, and this note was 6 pulses long. Maybe you have noticed. I'm going to change to the next longer sounding note. I think 9 was the last note I played in. I'm trying to keep the note order, but I might screw this up. Please bear with me. It doesn't matter so much if the note order is correct. All that matters is the resolution, the length of the note. Okay, so now I'm in the second measure, switching over to the next scale. This is the 16th triplet scale right now, or you could say 48th note, by the way. So, and I should be able to type in 6 notes before this quarter note is also written now, changing to the next longer note type. Okay, now I'm already 12 pulses past the third quarter note in measure 2. And actually I lost track which note I was typing in last, but like I said, it doesn't really matter so much if the order is correct here. Okay, next one. Next one. Okay. Okay. Did this just change? I think it did. So, okay, yeah, okay. I have written 4 bars now, 4 measures, and I'm going to listen back and notice how fast these very first notes are. What kind of resolution you can type in using the step sequencer, which I think is amazing. I don't know of too many other step sequencers giving you this type of resolution, and I mean, this is a machine that came out in '98. It seems to me like companies took away so much functionality in many step sequencers that came out later, just to make it easier on the user to follow what they were doing. But by making it easier, they also took away so much functionality and so many options that you still get with this type of step sequencer like you have in the MC505. But of course, it's not so easy to understand. So let's say, what do we do when we want to navigate to a certain place in the pattern and then start recording from, let's say, maybe in a 32 measure pattern, start recording on measure 16 or so. But before I do so, I want to copy what I've just recorded. I'm not explaining the copying process here because I don't want to make this video too long. I'm just going to extend the length of this pattern for so that I end up with 32 measures now. You can see here that this pattern is now 32 measures long. And yeah, before I talk about navigating, I want to do something else. I want to record in a drone sound that lasts throughout the whole song. And you can see that this is possible by combining the highest value, the longest type of note that's available in the MC505, which is always 2 full measures long. I'm going to, I change parts. I'm on this pad sound now. And this also works with a MIDI keyboard, by the way. You can just type in a chord once, and now you can extend the length of this chord. And each time I press down here, I extend for 2 more full measures. So now I've reached the end of the pattern. The display says 33.1 now, but there is no such thing as measure 33 because a pattern has a maximum length of only 32 measures. So this just indicates that the end of the pattern is reached. Okay, and when I play this back, I'm going to hear this these first 4 measures playing in a loop, basically, and then I have this kind of like a drone sound, this pad sound that plays together with it. And I'm just playing around here with the filter a little bit, just to show you, well, this is just to show you that this chord is actually really held for 32 measures now. But okay, now let's get to this navigating stuff. I wanna find me maybe a nice bass sound, or yes, sequence, something like this. So now I have a pattern that's 32 measures long. Well, how do I get to a certain place in this pattern and start recording from there. Okay, I'm pressing the record button 3 times again. So I am at the start of the pattern, first measure, first quarter note, nothing typed in so far. I want to get to, let's say I want to get to measure 16. If I don't watch out and I type in, if I press the rest button too many times now, I want to get to 16, I'm on 15. I press once more, I'm already on measure 17. I have already gone past the place where I wanted to end up at, which is measure 16. I need to go back all the way to the start, because simply pressing backwards doesn't really get me anywhere. Even if I combine this with the edit or a button, I cannot go back. All I can do is erase what I have programmed before. And since I haven't recorded a note anywhere before, but only a bunch of pauses, then I will immediately get back to the very beginning of the pattern, which is already measure 1. So I need to do this differently. I need to press as many times as I need before ending up or before passing the measure that I want to end up in. Now change the note value, and I'm going to change to a full note now. This little circle is basically, that's the symbol indicating a full measure. Now I press once more, and now I'm in measure 16. And now I need to change the note type again to whatever I want to record. If I want to record these very, very short notes now, or maybe 16th notes or triplets or whatever it is I want to record, I can now change the note value again and maybe type in these notes now. Yeah, and so this is how that works. And there's another thing I wanted to say, because I think I said something wrong in one of my earlier videos. There is a way to quantize a pattern that you have written, and using these groove templates here that are available in the play quantize section. I thought this was a real-time play function only because it says play quantize. And I think I was partly right, meaning that you cannot record changes you're dialing or you're making with the knobs now here for the timing or the velocity of these groove templates. But when you have a template selected, then you can use the quantize command in the machine to make this kind of change the position of notes according to the template that's selected, and sometimes that can take the notes out of the grid that you use to program these notes and put them in one of these, well, more or less hidden grids that are not indicated by any of the lights here when switching scales. And so when you have quantized a pattern with a groove template, and then you want to go back to the pattern and edit notes. In some cases, these notes won't show up anymore, and you have no way to access them in the scales that you use to program them. So what you need to do then first is quantize again to a very clear grid value here, like 16th notes or maybe 32nd notes. And then you can find these notes again and maybe change them in whatever way you want, take them out, place new notes and things like that. But this is also something that can cause a little confusion. So I think now I said pretty much everything I wanted to say. Oh, by the way, the MC303, damn it, can really only use these 4 scales like the ones that are printed on the panel here. It doesn't have these sort of hidden scales that are available in the MC505. That makes this sequencer really special, and I really like to use it. I hope I could help you understand it a little better if you have the MC505 and ran into the same problems. Well, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.